Even wins these days for the Guardians are painful and uncomfortable. We'll talk about their hair-raising win on Wednesday at Chicago, what could happen on this upcoming homestand, and who the Guardians should consider with the 19th pick. Spoiler alert, it's a lot.
Tanner Bibee of the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Jeff, I'd like to say a win is a win, but even the wins are kind of painful these days. This one wasn't a win that was painful in terms of losing players, but just having to watch at the end and pull your hair out the entire time. I've got a good hairline, but right now
I do not. I cannot afford that.
I know, right? Mine are better. This is Locked On Guardians, your only daily Cleveland Guardians podcast that covers your team every day. The Guardians, from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between. And we'll get into all of that on today's show. We'll talk about draft candidates for the 19th pick for the Guardians, some more MLB Combine standouts to talk about, what moves, if any, could happen before this upcoming homestand, or what should happen. And we're starting off today's show talking about how the Guardians narrowly avoided a sweep in Chicago. That is Jeff Ellis, your host of the show of Locked On Guardians the last 8 years. I'm Justin Lada. I've been here with Jeff for the last 4 years, and we've both been covering the team for 19 years when it comes to the minors and the draft. Before we get started, let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The biggest stage in the world, soccer, is here. Let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started right now. So full disclosure, just because I'm still on a family vacation and I was out at dinner because of the rain delay pushing things back, I didn't see the first, 7 innings maybe. So I didn't see any of the Guardians scoring at all. And I didn't pick things up until I think Tim Herron came into the game was when I started to finally be able to watch on my phone. And that was just in time to tune in for when things got really hairy for Herron. And actually, he was the best reliever, one of the best relievers the Guardians had in this game. Now, they didn't lose anybody to injury in this game. I was saying the loss is painful, but man, this was winning should be fun. And you'll take wins however you can get them. But does it feel like this win wasn't actually fun because of how they had to do it? They should have won on Tuesday. They won on Wednesday. Monday's escaping me already a little bit, but that one just kind of got away from them.
They had more base runners every single game in this series. They got more guys on base.
Did they have in Houston too?
No. Houston tattooed them on, but on 2 of the 3 games they had more base runners. But the game that the one game that they got tattooed, they did not. But in this whole series against the White Sox, they got more guys on base rather consistently. I think this was actually the closest one of all of those contests in terms of base runners, and they still weren't great. There was still a lot of
13 with runners in scoring position.
And it's that thing too. It's it's great. Hoskins got the hit in the 10th, but it's
today.
Yeah, he got the hit in the 10th, but it's before that, he keeps twice this week. He swung up all 4 in the zone. So it's if he just walks, bases are loaded, then Kahlil Watson's hit becomes a sac fly, which it doesn't kill you as much because Bailey then walks in the run, and you wouldn't have had that happen in that situation. But still, it's you would have one more out then. And then, but the biggest problem is the lack of contact with guys on third base. We saw multiple times on Monday, on the Monday game. We saw multiple times today. I mean, they got the win, but boy, was that it made you pull your hair out. Now, in full disclosure, I did not see all of this game either because I closed it out because I wanted to see the location of the pitch to Colson Montgomery, right? Was that the home? No, Braden Montgomery.
Sweeper?
No. The Montgomery one, which is the fastball down the middle. I got to say this. So Montgomery, he knocked in 2 runs. If you go back, I think it was against Sobrowski, maybe. I can't remember. But when he knocked in that first one, all 3 pitches, it was a 1-2 count. All 3 pitches have been outside the zone. He was expanding the zone, so they throw him a pitch in the zone. So he hits a sac fly. At least you get the out. But it's you could have struck him out if he just kept throwing it high and tight and out of the zone. And then Cade throws him. He's still a guy who expands. We talked about this earlier in the week as well. And Cade throws him a 96 mile an hour fastball down the middle. So I went to check and I'm that looked down the middle to me. Let's see what pitch that was. And by the time I went back to the game,
He gave it up to Grichuk one,
He got beat by Grichuk on his third best pitch. I don't know if again he couldn't land his pitches as well as he wanted, and that's why he's going to the sweeper. But I don't know why he's messing around with that sweeper.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he doesn't really throw the sweepers to right or the slitter to right-handers because it's really a left-handed neutralizer.
Yeah.
He just hung. I think if he had gotten that sweeper to the outer part of the zone,
he just hung it. He's hung it like the last, because that was the other thing when he gave up the big hit late in Monday's game. I believe the one that was the game losing was on the sweeper. So it's like he has not been commanding that sweeper well in this series. I mean, he didn't command anything well in this series, but neither did
it work.
But apparently, Steve, this was a classic. They won, and that's great. But man, the results, like, I don't know how you leave Sean Armstrong in as long as they did. Like, go give Espino a try. Like, I know
that was petrifying, and
he couldn't find the zone to save his life. Luckily, the White Sox bailed him out.
I know. I was gonna say they only used Colin Holderman to get one out, but I know Carl Willis talked about how they needed to get guys some work, like Hunter Gaddis needed to pitch because he hadn't pitched, and they have an off day today, which they sorely need just to.
And they just had
bad luck a little bit.
Like,
there was a little bit of bad luck.
Yeah, both the hits on Gaddis were not like solid contact there. Cade caused his own problems.
Yeah, the one ball back to Gaddis, I wish he had made the play on. Like, it was,
or just not deflected it.
Yeah, it was a goofy little blooper. So I get it, but like, I wish he would have fielded it. Yeah, Gaddis was fine. And Kyle Holderman was great, and ironically, Tim Herron was fine despite the wild pitch. The Sobrowski thing was just unnerving. Like, he finished out Cade Smith's inning in the 9th, right? And then he comes out for the 10th.
Armstrong. You mean not Sobrowski? Sobrowski was
yeah. So Armstrong finishes Cade Smith's inning in the 9th, and then he comes out for the 10th and just
bunt, walk, in like a 3-1 count, I think.
The 10th inning on the road is legitimately the hardest. Like, the 9th inning, the last 3 outs are always tough as a closer, but like the 10th inning on the road of a tie game is the worst spot to be in. Like, you need someone who can get a strikeout because you have to strike a guy out before they can advance the runner to third with less than 2 outs, especially if the Guardians luckily had a run on the board thanks to Kahlil Watson, who we'll talk about more. But yeah, sticking with Armstrong, like, that was the situation where you needed a strikeout. And I know, Espino's last outing in Houston was rough, but
so was Sobrowski's, and so was it today.
And that was a situation where you needed a strikeout. And I think Espino is more capable of that than Armstrong. But I also understand, like, not going to Espino in that spot because he hasn't been in that spot before and he's a rookie and you don't want to throw too much at him. So, like, I'm sympathetic to that, but you also need the strikeout. I don't know who else in that bullpen was getting it. Like, I heard Matt Festa was warming up at that point. I was like, dear God, please not Matt Festa. Anybody that Matt Festa. Like, I'm ready for Matt Festa to be replaced by Franco Alaman. I know they need the depth in AAA.
And they just need the guy who can go long, which is Festa. It's like,
they just don't have anybody else who can give you that kind of situation. But yeah, the bullpen made it rough because Tanner Bibee was great.
I don't know why they didn't leave him in. He had retired 10 in a row. He was at 80 odd pitches, 89 pitches. Why is he not? I know there were 2 lefties. It was Teal and Montgomery, but he had owned those 2 guys so far this game.
It's the same as it was with Altuve in Houston the other day. Like I said, they should have let him.
At that point, they had left him in, and he had given up 2 hits. This time, they didn't even leave him in to see if he could pitch. Like, with Altuve, he had walked around, basically intentionally, unintentionally walked. Alvarez gave up a hit, and they yanked him. This is different because this was he was under 90 pitches. He had retired 10 in a row, and they didn't even send him out. Like, I don't understand that one. Like,
I've got a theory. I've got a theory on that, Jeff. I got a theory on that I've talked to somebody else about.
I mean, I have a theory as well, so we'll see if the theories match. Right, and then I also have to explain why everything that happened in the 9th inning was my fault. So I got to own up and take responsibility.
Good. So we can all blame Jeff. Blame everything on Jeff. Blame everything on Jared.
It wasn't Cade Smith's fault. It was 100% mine, and I can explain why.
All right, we'll discuss that. We'll talk about our theories on the Guardians' pitching moves. We got to talk about Kahlil Watson. We got some minor league stuff to get to, particularly what might happen on this homestand with some reinforcements. We got MLB Combine stuff. And I really wanted Jeff get into the conversation about who the Guardians' options are at 19 because we're only a few weeks away from the draft. And I think
don't say that.
The possibilities are endless. Jeff is losing his hair because of that. as well. So stick around and lose your hair with us.
ED is way more common than most guys think, and millions of men deal with it at some point. HIMS offers a simple, convenient way to take care of your health by connecting you with licensed healthcare providers online and giving you access to personalized treatment options from the comfort of home. No more awkward appointments, no pharmacy lines, just a straightforward process designed to make getting care easier. Taking care of yourself shouldn't feel complicated, and HIMS makes the process private and easy to navigate. It's healthcare built around your schedule and your comfort. You want to avoid the melty man. That's what HIMS is there for. Today, we have a rally dyno, so time to bring out the big bones and talk about if you want to have the big bone, if you want to rally late, if you want to make sure that you have that performance, you want to be talking to HIMS because they have the doctors that you can talk to. They have the different types of medicine. They will help you use the big bone to have your own rally dyno in the bedroom. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/lockedonmlb. That's hims.com/lockedonmlb for your free online visit. hims.com/lockedonmlb. Prescription required. See website for details and important safety information. Sildenafil is a generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Vitrius Specialty LLC. HIMS is not affiliated with or endorsed by Vitrius.
Speaking of things that are big, this is the biggest stage in world soccer. It's here, and FanDuel wants to make sure you're ready for every memorable moment because one goal can change the game, can shift the momentum, alter an outcome in an instant. And that is what makes tournament soccer so exciting. From the opening whistle to the final kick, and FanDuel is giving another reason to stay locked in to every match with every goal pays. Bet on a match and get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. More goals mean more bonus bets, and all you got to do is turn on the token. Once again, I am totally in the dark on tournament soccer, any kind of soccer, unless it involves college, and even then it only involves my alma mater. But I can tell you, the Guardians are still plus, I think, 1,200 last I checked to win the American League, which is still 8+, or way ahead of the White Sox, who are plus 2,000. So they still think the Guardians are the best American League shot when it comes to the AL Central. So check that out. Maybe they'll recover from this and things will look a little bit better, but they still have the edge when it comes to the division at the very least. From opening whistle, final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com right now to get started. And as always, thanks for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get podcasts. If you want more ability to discuss the team with other fans, maybe you want to vent some frustrations and just go through other things what other people are going through as well, you can check out the Everydayer Club. It gets you ad-free access to all the audio episodes wherever you download your podcast, but it also gets you access to a private listener Discord where there's other Guardians fans, Jeff, myself, listeners of the show, talking Guardians after the game ends and all day long, honestly, when moves happen and other things just need to be aired when the airing of the grievances starts. So check that out in your show notes or go to lockedonguardians.supercast.com. All right, Jeff, do you want me to give my theory quickly first? Okay, so my theory, they let Parker Messick go out for the 8th inning on Tuesday, which I was actually a little surprised by. Gavin didn't make it very deep Wednesday. Tanner was pulled, I think, at 90 pitches his last start. Like he had I think he had at least one batter left in the tank, but that's, situationally, I understand what you're saying. The point is, though, the pitch count. Somebody else pitched this to me too and said, I wonder if they are being a little more cautious with how hard they push the starters right now because they don't want the starters to be burned out when the hitters come back. Like conserving the pitchers, like you're asking a lot of your pitching in general, bullpen or starters, because there's just not a lot of offense to protect right now. It stinks. So you're trying to be perfect. So I think there's a higher amount of stress on all the pitchers, especially the starters. And they just had a 3-city 9-game road trip. So I kind of wonder if they were being a little conservative with the pitch count, not pushing them in the middle and, at the end of June here, because they're hoping these starters will still have plenty of, not just left in the tank for September, but also just upcoming stretches after the All-Star break. Because when you do get Chase DeLauder or Jose Ramirez on, Martinez back, you don't want the rotation, which always had 5 guys, so nobody's had a break. Everyone's been in the rotation, knock on wood so far. You don't want them burned out before the All-Star break, because they're pitching under a lot of duress without a lot of offense to support them. So I wonder if maybe there's an element of trying to be careful about how hard you push them at the moment in order for the rotation not to collapse once maybe you do get some better offense coming back. Jeff is speechless at my theory, so it must be really good.
Well, that's because you muted me earlier. I didn't mute you. You
I
muted me.
I didn't mute you. I was too busy worrying about big bones.
No, you because I didn't have time to do it. So you muted after I finished my ad read in between. There was a muting.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
So that was not my theory. I'll say that. My theory is a little bit simpler, which is just they had a 3-run lead. They had 2 lefties coming up, and after Sobrowski's terrible Saturday, he hadn't pitched since. And if this team's going to get back to having any type of reliable pen, they need to get guys reps. So I thought they went to Sobrowski in a position where he could be most effective against 2 guys who had struggled all. Was it Montgomery first? I was trying to remember who the lefties are because Montgomery is a switch hitter, so it was Teal, Montgomery, and Mederoth. But I think Colson Montgomery is a lefty, yes. So it's Teal and Colson Montgomery who had struggled to that point. You had 2 lefties, the only 2 lefties in a row. With Benintendi already having hit, you didn't think they would go to Gierchuk in this situation. They weren't going to pull out their catcher, their shortstop, or their second baseman. So it felt like a pretty good situation. So I thought it was more just about like he's got to pitch. He hasn't pitched since Saturday, and they're trying to set him up to be successful after what was. I mean, our comments were all about, oh, I can't believe they went to Festa in a high leverage situation. Well, it didn't matter because they then went to Espino and they then went to Sobrowski, and they were just gas cans as well. You know, they need to get those 2 back. So I thought it was maybe more about trying to get reps in a relatively low impact. Now, Sobrowski wasn't great. He gave up hits to both those guys. And unlike the Gaddis of it all, where both of the hits Gaddis gave up were bad luck ones. It was the Jacob Gonzalez, like a broken batter into right field. And then the one, as we already talked about, but Sobrowski got hit pretty hard with both of those. Then he came back to get 2 outs after that because he let off the inning with 2 hits. But yeah, I thought it might have been about that. Just trying to find the maximum situation, because if you get Sobrowski back on his feet, honestly, before he left, he was a better left-handed pitcher than Chapman was before his injury. He was the top of most relief lists in terms of advanced. I mean, in terms of advanced stats and a lot like FIP, and we're looking like strikeout percentage and things like that. He was the top lefty in baseball. Now he's got a list longer than, well, you can add in your own version in the comments below, of injuries, and another one snuck up. So that was my theory. The other thing is, the reason I have to take blame for the 9th inning 100% is, if you go back to last week's show, I said that I felt really comfortable when Cade Smith comes in the game, that he is the best player on this team, pound for pound. He is their best player right now. Since then, he has not gone well. And when we talk about the reverse jinxitis with me over the years, where I'll like bad talk someone, and they have, I talked about how Fetty and Kay were hot garbage, and then they both were fantastic this series. You can go back to like a year ago when the Braves were terrible. I'm like, the Braves have no pitching at all, and then we couldn't hit them in that entire series. It's like that whole reverse factor. So I'm going to take the blame on this. And I hope for any of Cade Smith's family, they will understand why I have to say these next few words. It's for his own sake. I am not changing my mind. Cade Smith is a terrible reliever. They should just cut him. He should be cut. He's terrible.
He's lucky to be in baseball, is what you're saying.
He is not even the best Cade Smith in baseball.
Oh, wow. That's right. The Yankees have a pitcher named Cade Smith. Yeah.
So, again, I apologize to his family, but it's for his own good that I have to make these words. I mean, his ERA, because these two blown saves in 3 games, his ERA is over 3 now.
Still going to be an all-star, but yeah.
I think he'll still be an all-star. I agree. But it's been a rough month of June in general. Like, he's had a few other blips in here. And again, I'm going to
point out, what hasn't been rough for this team in June besides the starting pitching?
I mean, that's fair. But I'm also going to point out again, when I point out, go back and listen to the show earlier this week, he had only thrown 1 inning more than twice in the entire season. Yeah. And then we turn around to June, and he's been asked to do it, what I say, 4 times. And of his, let's see, he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 appearances. He's given up runs, and 3 out of 7. So, and 2 of them being the last 2, and that's after those previous 4 outings before this one. He was asked to go more than 1 inning. So maybe don't ask guys to do things they're not used to doing. Maybe that's
remember
something that we've
too,
talked about, like for Vogt's entire career here. And he just doesn't listen. Like, let's have Sean Armstrong, who hasn't done that all year, go out and do that when he has no command. I know they won, but again, that's a bad process is over.
I don't really know. The only thing I could think of for the Armstrong thing was he was the only veteran in the bullpen available at that point. I mean, they had Festa, but I don't know. I think, like, I understand. Like I said, I understand not going to Espino there because that's a really rough situation for him to be in, and you really want to win that game. So I guess you're living and dying with your veterans, which is on one hand I understand it, but on the other hand, it's also a risky move trusting guys.
April 5th was the last time he pitched more than one inning this year.
So I also too want to make this point because I know we've had people talk about like overblowing the usage of Cade Smith. Sometimes I've seen comments from that. Like I know, Ken, I've heard from Ken talked about like overanalyzing pitch counts, and I don't have enough insight into this specific, if I can speak, specific theory or circumstance how the Guardians view it, how it works. But I know the Guardians, at least in the minor league level, are very more focused on like it's not pitch count, it's how many times does a guy go sit down after an inning's over and come back up and heat up? Because remember,
get up and down.
Yes, because remember, they're warming up in the bullpen, they're coming into the game, they're throwing an inning, then he's going to sit down, and then he's getting back up and heating up again. So especially with relievers, they worry about how many times is the guy's arm getting hot. And I don't think it's the pitch count with Cade Smith. I think it's unless you're a starter, most relievers don't always get accustomed to sitting down and then having to go back out there and warm it back up. And that's something they are, I know a lot of teams are focused on. So it's not necessarily the pitch count for Cade Smith. It has to do when you're talking about asking him things he hasn't to do that he doesn't really do very often. It's not the pitch count. It is the times he has to sit down and get back up and get loose again. And that is something a lot of teams focus on. So,
and then I also got to say one other harp in this is I understand Chris Murphy is a lefty, but you knew he was going to pitch one inning. Having Fry in your 3-hole just so he could face him once.
Glad you said that.
David, no, I didn't mention it today. I mentioned it to you in text. Having Fry come in, having Fry as the starter. I mean, they almost don't get any runs. The first 2 runs, if there isn't an error on the play, David Fry instead hits into a double play. So they get runs because the mishandled double play. So something that played into Cleveland's favor in this one. But like Fry, having him in a 3 spot, watching him go over 3. And the only reason that it wasn't over 4 was thanks to an error. And they lose this game if there isn't that error. They 100% lose this game. David Fry hits into a double play and this game is over. So David Fry struggles. We've been bringing him up, but like having him hit third so you can guarantee he faces a lefty once is not worth it to your team.
Yeah,
Manzardo reached base 3 times in this one, but you didn't have him right after Rocchio because David Fry.
I'm glad you brought that up so we can talk about what needs to change for this upcoming homestand. And we want to talk about candidates for the Guardians in the draft at pick 19. It's a wide list, so we want to start mentioning a few names now. That is coming up. Running a business should not feel like you're trying to get a bunch of systems that never were designed to work together. You don't want to have one app for accounting, another inventory, another for sales, and none of them have any sort of communication. They don't work together. And that is where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. So you've sales, you have accounting, you have inventory, marketing. That's all going to work together in one place. It's going to help your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing your business instead of managing software. The Guardians, they know that success is not just about talent. Yes, talent is a big piece of that, especially in baseball. But everyone's got to work towards the same goal. It is true in sports, just like it is in business. The Guardians, they need the right pieces to fit. We mentioned this all week. They need the right pieces to fit together. They all working towards the same goal, but some of the pieces don't really connect together. You're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. And that is what Odoo helps you overcome, because great organizations win when operations matter. And that is why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockdown. That's odoo.com/lockdown.
Workplace chaos can show up fast. That's where Indeed Sponsored Jobs comes in. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the candidates who actually fit what you're looking for based on skills, experience, and location. something about the importance of location after watching today's baseball game. Find the right person can make all the difference, whether it's building a business or building a winning team or not blowing your games. So again, let's talk about this Guardians team. We talked about the bullpen and their struggles this week. The Guardians bullpen has been one of their strengths for a long time. It is an Achilles heel right now. Maybe they can go on in Indeed and find a candidate to help them specifically with that extra lefty role, because right now, man, lefties are killing baseball, like killing baseballs, I should say. And Cleveland doesn't have anything to counter them at all. Maybe they should check out Indeed. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves. Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs.
All right, make sure you're checking all the fun boxes. You are auto-downloading on all your favorite audio platforms, and you are hitting the bell on YouTube, subscribing on YouTube, and making sure that you get every episode in your feed, and make sure that you are getting all the videos sent to your phone, because we react to all the games, any news, as well as our regular episodes, and who knows what else might pop up. I'm glad you mentioned the David Fry thing, because it has been very ugly for him. We covered it kind of at length in yesterday's show, but I got to point out, like, Cooper Ingle now has started 2 games in a row in left field. I feel like we're starting to move towards Cooper Ingle is going to be a left fielder, at least for this team. We'll see if they ever decide to trade him and he can catch for somebody else, a team that maybe doesn't place the value on catcher defense the way the Guardians do. The more and more Cooper Ingle plays left field, I think the closer and closer we get to him coming up. And it's just like, I don't know how many times I could say it, Jeff. We just can't keep having Petey Halpin and Daniel
Halpin was one of the stars in this game, though. I'll say that.
I know.
We haven't talked about him, but I mean, his hustle to get down the line for the other run, him getting a hit, like he was one of my 3 stars. It was Halpin, it was Watson, and it was Bibee. So we
haven't even talked about Kahlil Watson either. Who I'll point that out in a second, but
yeah.
You just can't keep having Fairchild and Halpin and Quan and Schneemann. All like you keep saying, these guys are all redundant.
Fairchild was used correctly today.
Fine, it still doesn't matter.
Ran him.
That's fine. It doesn't matter.
That's what, but you don't need 4 guys like him, which is what you have with.
If this team had I'm fine with Fairchild on the roster if this team has a competent working outfield, but they don't. No,
they never have.
No, but this team, especially with all the injuries, like when you're down to Lauder and Martinez, like, and Quan is a shell of himself, even though he had a decent game. I know you pointed out the reach he had in the later innings, but I just can't keep doing it. Like, I still need to see Cooper Ingle. I still need to see, even when Chase DeLauder comes back, which, by the way, like we were talking the other day, Chase DeLauder might return on this homestand. It may not be this Friday and maybe July 5th. They're saying sometime they're hopeful this homestand, and that homestand goes from Friday, June 24th to Sunday, July 5th, I believe.
Yes, July 5th is the end of it.
So, yeah, it's a pretty extended homestand, which is nice for them. Hopefully he's back during this homestand. I still want to see Cooper Ingle up. I don't care anymore how left-handed heavy they are, Jeff, because you want to know what? We keep saying this. Platoons don't work unless you have the Rayburns and the Geyers and, like, remember in 2005 when they had, what was it, Eduardo Perez and Ben Broussard? Like, that was a great platoon. If you don't have those pieces, it doesn't matter. So, you know what? Give me the left-handed bat that actually has the highest upside and just try to survive until these injuries are
or go get Cody Huff. Try out the guy who's hitting well, who's right-handed.
That's fine, too. I don't care about that's fine. That's fine, too. And then Watson, like, he had a really rough start to his major league career, at least, the way Bazana did, except Bazana walked. But you want to know what? Kahlil Watson was responsible for pretty much all the offense the last 2 days. Maybe he won't keep it up. Yeah, maybe he won't kepe it up. Maybe he will. Like, but either way, like, this is one of those guys, Jeff, we've talked about in the past. Right now, he has been Mr. Right Now, and that's what the Guardians need.
Bingo.
I was especially impressed on the hit in the extra innings, by the way. Because the home run he had this week, he drilled a fastball on the inner half, which I know he could do, but the pitch he singled to give them the lead in the 10th inning was a backdoor breaking ball. And he sat back on and he flicked it the other way and got the hit to left field. Those are the kind of hits that impress me the most, because a lot of guys can turn on inside fastballs. Not a lot of guys have the ability to do that. And also, especially rookies, stay back and try to flip the ball to left field in a situation where you absolutely needed something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be the ups and downs. And I'm absolutely a believer in giving him this opportunity. It makes perfect sense right now. The same reason he went 0 for 10 with 7 strikeouts, in the same way he's been hot this week. Like, that's going to be part of the package for a guy who does, expand a bit and does chase and does do some things like that. But he is also an extremely exciting talent who, when he makes contact, can do, amazing things with the ball. And I'm not saying he is this player, but like an example of a guy who chases and does all of that stuff. There are 3 names that come to mind who have pretty terrible chase, but hit the ball hard and do damage when they make contact. The lower end is Jesus Sanchez, who I've been chasing for years for this team. And then, it's like Salvi Perez and Julio Rodriguez. Now, I'm not saying he is those guys, because he's not, but like, you can be successful with this profile as long as you hit the ball hard, because when you're making contact, good things will happen in that situation.
Because you can hit it hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's fun. He made another great defensive play, I think, in the first inning as well. Like, like I said, he was easily one of the 3 players of the game for me in this one with Halpin and Tanner. And we really haven't given Tanner too much credit as well, because we were kind of like, because this game wrung us dry of positivity while you're watching it, because it's just the way things are going. But, Tanner, my goodness, like, he's making a case to be well, here's the thing. Parker Messick is the team ace right now. He's unbelievable. Yeah. But I mean, Tanner's making a case that if the playoffs started tomorrow, that Gavin should be your 3 starter. It's I mean, he's making that case that, like, if the Guardians, and I'll say this for tomorrow's show, that, like, maybe if they want to get better and they want to talk to a team like Oakland, who has the worst starter ERA in baseball, like, maybe Gavin Williams is your best trade chip. Maybe it's not one of the rookies.
Yeah, I just don't know how you replace that in the rotation.
It's hard. But that's where you got to figure it out. Is it more valuable to get that 1 in 5 start and to drop down to an Allen or a Peterson, who I'll maybe talk about on tomorrow's show, or is it more valuable?
Peterson, we haven't mentioned that, and he's been on a roll lately.
He's added a pitch. And Peterson and Messick, we had very similar graded throughout their minor league careers until the very end.
Peterson's never added the velocity.
No, he hasn't, unfortunately. But it's like, is it more valuable for that one start for an inconsistent guy who, when he's on, is the best pitcher in the staff, and when he's off, struggles? Or is it more valuable to potentially get an everyday bat that can be in the middle of the lineup? Like,
probably
I don't know.
That's
a fun debate. It's a
especially
fun
debate especially considering one day they know they won't be keeping Gavin, which is still stupid. All right, let's quickly talk about some draft. We have some time today because of the 4 ads. Let's talk draft a couple bit. I don't have any names in the combine to talk about today, Jeff.
I do.
Okay. Well, can we just talk? We were supposed to talk candidates at 19 yesterday. We did. Can we?
Yeah.
I'll throw
some. I'm going to throw. We got a former Guardian/Indian pitcher's son that I'll save for the end of the show.
Yeah, we've talked about him before, but
no, someone different.
Oh, a different. He has 2 sons.
No. This is not that pitcher that you're thinking of. This is a different guy who used to pitch for Cleveland, whose son had a really big day at the combine.
Oh, okay. I was thinking different pitcher. Okay, anyway, so guys at 19. We don't have to name them all today, but I think we'd like at least throw.
But we will.
Yeah. I'm still very interested in Tyler Spangler. I think his combine was okay. At least we know he's kind of healthy, which is good. There's some weird off the field stuff. I wonder how comfortable the Guardians will be with that. How much they've gotten to know him, because he is from an area they would normally scout. So I'm like super comfortable with Spangler if the background stuff checks out for him at 19. I think I'm pretty. I know you've got some other ideas. I think I'm pretty much all set on prep bats. Like, I just don't like enough of the college pitchers this year. The college hitters that will be available at that range, like, just don't make sense to me. Like, I only talked to Ace Reese, but like, I guess I'd be okay with Ace Reese, but like, I think I'm pretty much settled on like a college or a prep bat at 19 this year.
I'll throw
There's
Archer
Troy
Horn.
Snow-Snyder. Taj Marchand. I don't know if he goes there. Rocco Maniscalco has really impressed me this week.
Because he's still a second rounder because he was pretty
Okay.
terrible in the spring. Archer Horn. Archer Horn is a guy who, like,
Archer
first
Horn,
day,
yeah.
like, he was already a guy who was trending upwards. I didn't think he was getting out of the top 25. Slick defender. His dad was a pitcher at Princeton with Chris Young.
Yeah.
Stanford commit. I mean, he had in the first group. I mean, for a guy who wasn't the biggest guy, he was hitting the ball hard. He's a 6'2" shortstop. This org lacks shortstops in the system. Shortstops are always highly tradable as well, but he was hitting 105 regularly with exit velo, and then when he was playing in the field, he was hitting over 90 on his throws from short. So some big tools there with Archer Horn. Like, I already had him like in that area, but like this put him, I'm going to have him higher than Spangler for me, just looking at those two. And then, I still kind of like Logan Hughes. I know they won't touch him. Bo Lawrence, there's a lot of work to be done on him. Same thing with Gridlinger. Like, those are guys who are going to take a lot of seasoning, but there's some fun bits to them. But I guess that's also kind of the problem, though. I'll say is like the prep talent there's those three guys, and then it's like, because the prep hitter class isn't great, so it's a little bit of a, it's not as clean of who, like, probably the depth of the draft at that point in the draft is going to be college pitchers. I do like
Cade Townsend,
Cade Townsend a lot. Like, Cade Townsend has a 98 mile an hour fastball with 20 IVB. And then he's got a cutter that's even better than that, and he's got a slider and curve that are plus.
I could be okay with Cade Townsend at 20. Wouldn't or 19.
His
my favorite pick, but I could be okay with that.
His command is probably about a 50, I would say, but his control is probably like a 40, so that's kind of the knock there. But yeah, he's one of the pitchers I like. I've talked about why I like Wes Mendez. He's not for 19, but unfortunately, I don't think he's going to get to the second round anymore, where I kind of put him, that there's definitely some Messick vibes as another Florida Stater there. But and it's the bigger thing is just who slides.
Beard.
Who is that?
I like Trey Beard, but that's not 19.
No, I'm not as big on Beard.
I'm with you. I'm with you on Archer Horn for sure. At 19 could be an interesting way to go. I guess I could live with Cade Townsend. It wouldn't be my favorite, but I'd be okay with it. Definitely out on Logan Redeman. He didn't really, he wasn't able to turn it loose in his combine, and he hasn't pitched since April. So like, I don't think he gets there. What the Guardians picked next to at 59, I think, after 19. I don't think he gets the 59, but I couldn't do it at 19. I would just, and of course that means they're going to do it because they'll take the injured guy that they think should have had a higher grade or something. And that's, again, something to remember is whatever guy grades as a high first round talent and slips to 19, they'll probably be taking. So maybe that's it's not going to be Cam Fluky, but
that's Cade Townsend because he missed a start with a shoulder injury that kind of scared off teams because he's undersized too.
There's that. But, there's that.
Yeah, I just
there's a name I want to throw out. We didn't talk about this yesterday, but Caden Bogenpohl. I'm not there at 19 on him, but
no, I'm not there at 59 on him either.
Ooh.
He didn't hit in the Sun Belt. If you can't hit in the Sun Belt with his tool,
but he's a traits guy. He is.
But I don't care. Like, that makes it worse. Like, if you go and you light up the combine and you can't beat, if you are physically bigger, stronger with bat speed and everything else, and you stink against guys who aren't good enough to even play independent baseball, then you didn't stink. But it's like, you need to dominate those guys. When you don't, that is what I have called for years the Jeff Hoffman corollary. Everyone said Jeff Hoffman was a top 10 pick. I'm like, I don't want him. There are points where people are like, Jeff Hoffman's a 1-1 candidate. I'm like, I don't want him because he is facing a lower level of competition and he's not dominant. If you can't dominate with your tools, I'm out.
So that also applies to AJ Gracia then, who too we thought, maybe he slides a little.
Well, I mean, he still played well, but it wasn't a lower level of competition. He was at Virginia and he had some injury stuff.
Okay. And you and I are both still settled on Miles Bailey being the third round pick for this team.
Yeah.
The other guy too, I know you don't like him as much as I do, but the kid that's up your way, the high school first baseman.
I'm out on him. I've got no interest.
What's his name?
Santorelli, Dominic Santorelli.
Yeah, see, I really like him. I think he's not going to make it to 59. I don't think you take him at the first round though. Like, that's the other things too.
I kind of liked him for a while, and I did some more digging and some video, and I was just like, there's a lot of like your traditional plus power first baseman with him who, he's going to be able to play other positions. Like, every year, these guys No, he's not really a first baseman. He's athletic. He can play, and then none of them do. Like almost no one.
Well,
transitions
we tried. I tried to talk myself into that with Nick Kurtz, and then Nick Kurtz is okay.
It doesn't happen. And Evan White, and like we can keep going. Like, it just happens all the time.
Yeah.
Before we run out of time, already super late. So the player I was mentioning is who lit up the combine today was Jensen Verhas, whose dad Jose Verhas pitched for a long time in the big leagues, including Cleveland in 2009, where he appeared in 22 games.
God,
but
I totally forgot he played for Cleveland. That's
yeah,
crazy.
he played for Cleveland. So today he smacked the crap out of the ball. Like he hit a 114 mile an hour exit velo. He had another was 113. He had a ball 443 feet. You look at the list of the highest exit velos, highest distances. It's Verhas. He is a Florida State commit. He went to TXNL Academy, where Cleveland has drafted guys out of. So that's kind of a fun, player. And I got to point out on none of them have worked out. But then I also got to point out on that list of like biggest distances is Clay Burdett, who's an Ohio kid, played at Xavier this year and had a 110.05. So I mean that's like a late day 2 guy, but like, hey, nice to see a Ohio College Xavier kid. I can't think of the name of the reliever from Xavier. There's also Zach Lothar. A few years ago, that Xavier program would occasionally have guys here or there. But thank you all for joining us. Tomorrow, I think it's going to be a solo show. I'm going to kind of bounce around. We're going to talk some prospects, talk some draft, talk about some trades too. I've got some out of right field trade ideas that we will get to on tomorrow's show. So again, thank you all for joining us. Remember, review, download daily. It helps. Hit that thumbs up, the like, comment below with something positive for once, please.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite Ninja Turtle? Since that's the shirt I'm wearing. Thank you all, and go Guardians, go.